Okay, so part one of watering, we'll start in the balcony in the bedroom. This is a rose. Roses are generally need a little bit more water. So you can sort of see that even before I've watered, the soil is already a little bit wet. But the roots do need a little bit more of a drink. So I'm just gonna do like a little watering, let it seep in, and I'll come back and top it off a little bit more. This here is an elderberry lace. It's a shrub that produces little berries, I guess, but they've bred this to be a little bit more ornamental. This one right here is some kind of conifer that they train on a stalk. It's kind of fun, a little lollipop. It's a sedum, just needs like a little spot of water. These two guys are Japanese maples. This is called a harp string, and this is called a Rhode Island red. Because they're in such small pots, and today's so warm, it's going to be in the 80s. Generally, small pots are definitely going to need to be watered. Doesn't need a lot though, because they don't want to be drowned, but just put in a little bit of water just so that the roots don't dry out. This is a Hokonoa grass. Again, it's in a small pot, so I'm going to go ahead and water it. Okay, and this guy is an Arctic willow. Willows are very thirsty. They drink up a lot of water. I just watered it yesterday and it rained, and you can see the soil is pretty dry. I'm gonna go top off the water again, and I'll be right back. So I'm just gonna top off the soil over here, a little bit more for the rose. Let that water get into through the roots. And because it is gonna be so hot, I'm just gonna give everybody a little extra drink here. This is a Solomon seal. It's kind of like an ornamental little small plant here. That's it. This is part two of watering. This is our front patio area. As you can see, it's enclosed, so if it rains, obviously it's not going to come in here, so we do have to water here even if it rains. This is that same Hokonoa grass from the back. This one had a little bit more time to grow in some bigger soil, so he's a little bit more mature than the other one. Need some water. This guy is a little spider plant, similar to the one that we gave you. So I just kind of water at the base here. This is a Japanese maple, another variety called Purple Ghost. And because it's going to be so hot, I do also give it a drink. This is a forest fern, also a little Japanese forest fern, seeing a theme here. This is a blood tip grass. You can see it's got these little red, pretty striking red tips there. I'm going to top off the watering can with some more water. This is some more sedum here. Just a little splash is fine for him. This box over here has a couple of plants, including lavender. So I'm just kind of Watering all across here. It's gonna be hot today. Okay, that's it. And I'll just leave this over here. So we're actually gonna start off on this side just to turn on the hose. Make sure that the valve is turned towards this one. Just take out this whole thing. Starting with this grass here, it's the same Hokonoa grass. You can see a pattern here. Just gonna water at the base there. And then you'll see another Japanese maple over here with an inner pot. So it's got its own container so that we can overwinter it and lift the whole thing out. Just because it's going to be so hot today, the roots are going to drink everything up really quickly, and through a process called transpiration, water is going to evaporate through the leaves. These are hostas. We didn't think they were gonna come back this season, and they start out these little itty bitty things, and year after year these guys have been here for several years now. They've about tripled in size. It's incredible. So right now it's about 8:30 in the morning. Morning is the best time to water because if you see, like when you have water on the leaves, these little droplets act like lenses, and actually when the sun hits the dewdrops, it actually can scorch the leaves. So you can see these little scorches on the service berry here. May or may not be from water droplets, but it is an effect of watering in the midday sun. So if you can get up here in the morning, that'll be the ideal time to water all the plants. This guy that I'm watering up here is a service berry. It's a native plant of the North Americas, found all the way up in Alaska even, and the Native Americans will eat these service berries. And Brian is determined to make service berry pie this year. I don't know if that's actually going to happen because they're quite tart. Okay. These are also hostas over here. Because they're in these small pots, they do dry out super quickly. So just make sure that they get a nice thorough soaking. Okay. This is some thyme. I actually grew this from a smaller clump, and I had to divide it because it got so big. This here is a mugo pine. It's an older specimen. This here is an iris. We grow them for the leaves because we think the leaves are really nice. Not so much the flowers, but these two are both irises. Irises, if you ever see them in the wild, they like to grow by river, pond banks. And so they're kind of like a hybrid plant. They don't mind having their feet wet, but they're pretty hardy either way. You can keep them dry or slightly wet and they'll be okay. This is another service berry here. Poor guy this year thought it was spring when Chicago decided it wasn't yet. And so he leafed out, And then we had the cold snap and snow, and well, you guys know. So all the leaves died, and he's looking really bare. So hopefully he'll survive this season. He's hanging on to dear life. This bed here, you might say, hey, this looks familiar. Basically a replica of what we typically do, but we have a similar bed in the front balcony. And we do typically water these irises here too. It's a different type of iris with a pretty striking yellow and green variegation to it. And this guy here is called a smoke bush, and we also overwintered this one, so it kind of came back so nice this year. Coloration is really striking. This is called a creeping hydrangea, so it's related to, you know, the typical hydrangeas that you see, the big mop heads. I think most people identify those big blue orbs. So this type of hydrangea creates a flat type of flower like that, but they're really great for rooftops. Okay, this is a mint plant. Feel free to use as much mint as you'd like for drinks, for cooking, because once they start flowering, then the flowers take up all the energy of the plant and you lose flavor. Same thing with this basil. So just typically water the basil here, and then you'll notice that the rosemary up here and the oregano, it's in its own pot because they have its own soil requirements. So it's a little bit different soil composition than something like a basil. And all right, you should recognize these, Malad. These are pepper plants. I have the label still in there in case you want to know what variety they are. But okay, this is that other half of that clump of thyme that I was telling you about. And then back here, these are lemon verbena. If you smell it, it smells really nice. And you can use it in teas. These are the two wedding pines, we call them, because Brian and I used it as decoration for our wedding. We did like a DIY wedding and we didn't want to buy too many cut flowers, so we bought trees instead. Okay. I'm going to turn off the water for just a second and talk about this basil for a second. So you sort of see that this little floret at the top. Whenever you see that, you do want to pinch off the top and use it, because otherwise this is going to flower, and then once it flowers, then there's no more flavor. So I would encourage you to do that because I think it's probably going to want to, you know, bolt when you guys are taking care of the roof. So whether you want to use it or not, that's up to you, or you can even throw it away if you don't want, but I'd rather you throw it away than kind of let it go to seed. So this plant, because he's kind of tall, I'll actually come down to this node and then just kind of pinch off the top, and you can sort of use that for pizza or whatever. Same thing here. I'm going to pinch this off, and then he's going to grow from these nodes. And basically I'm just looking for anything that looks like it wants to flower. So kind of like that little floret there. So this plant is trying to do that as well. So actually this one I'm going to pinch right here and allow these two nodes to grow. And I'm just inspecting to see if anyone else is trying to bolt. Same thing with the purple basil as well. Okay, so the pepper plants down here, I'm just looking for any leaves that have fallen down and just throwing them down so that nothing rots. This is a green variety. These are arborvitae. And this is a purple fountain grass. They look better later in the season when they throw up those seed heads. Those little, they look like little tassels. And then lastly, these guys should be fine, but I will just give them a quick drink. And that concludes watering for the roof. Thank you very much.